Hi, Prith.
Hi, Nathan.
Thanks for helping my project.
Yeah, of course.
Could you say a couple words about yourself?
Yep. So my name is Prith Chaudhary. I am a Spartan backroom flight controller, and I've been here at NASA since September of 2022.
Well, that's awesome. What got you into that? Like, why did you decide to go into flight control?
So back when I was in college, we had an alumni come out and speak at one of our AIAA club events. She happens to be a BME flight controller today, and she told us all about the job of being a flight controller for ISS, and that really opened my eyes to, wow, this is an attainable goal that I can work towards. And as the more I kept looking into it, I was like, this is extremely interesting, and this is something I'd like to pursue.
That's awesome. What attracted you to, what did she say that made you say, this is what I want to do?
I think the imagery of being able to work on something as impactful as the International Space Station, being able to operate such an interesting piece of equipment, being able to see that you are actively making a change in real time. It's very easy to see how big of an impact you are making every day on the job, and I think that really excited me about this place.
Um, okay, so NASA has big plans. Planning to go back to the moon. Back in 2019, Artemis was announced that we would go back to the moon by the end of 2024. That's why I started this project. I was wondering, when did you become aware of that? Like, when did it become real to you that, hey, we're really going back to the moon?
I'm trying to remember right now, and for sure after I started working here, then I became extremely aware. It was around then, when Artemis 1 was occurring as well. It wasn't too far off. I would say maybe I had heard of it here and there before I started working here, so maybe a little before 2022 I was somewhat aware, but definitely after I started my career, that's when really things kicked into high gear.
What do you hope, like, what most excites you about going back to the moon? How about that?
I think one thing that I constantly think about that really excites me about us going back to the moon is this is our first time back in many decades. So, back then we only had so much time to conduct so many experiments and learn so much about the moon, right? But as time has passed, society and technology has developed greatly, and now we have new questions to ask, and we have new ways of finding answers to those questions. So this is just a big opportunity for us to learn even more about, our natural satellite, and yeah.
When you think about where it might lead to, if you were to look out like 200 years, do you see us still only on the Earth making these little short trips to places? Or do you think in like 200 years we have people living and working on, say, Mars or, some other place?
In 200 years, a lot can change. I think that's something big to think about. Talking about the impacts that might have for us back here on Earth, going back to the moon, an analogy that I would compare it to is maybe, for example, Formula One. So in Formula One, these highly specialized vehicles are designed for one goal and one goal only, completing this race as fast as it can. However, those cutting edge designs made in Formula One eventually come back down towards commercial vehicles that people use every day. And, in designing cars for such a high level as F1, eventually you realize, oh, this would actually be good on like a commercial vehicle for the everyday person, right? In that same vein, I think that the technological developments and everything else that occurs to tackle the problems of us going back to the moon, eventually I feel like there's some way that we can bring those back to life on Earth. And maybe even, one of the more clear examples is the solutions that we can come up with from going to the moon. How can those help us maybe to go to Mars or to advance space travel even further?
But in 200 years, do you think we have people living on Mars? Like a community of people, going to play pickleball and, going to concerts and...
Pickleball on Mars would sound quite crazy. A concert on Mars sounds pretty awesome. If I had to give my opinion right now, I'm hesitant to say that living on Mars is something I'm confident in. However, trips to Mars, at least in at least in a sense of maybe what was similar to the moon, how we would take trips to the moon and conduct science there. That's definitely within the realm of possibilities in the next 200 years. And in fact, I'm confident that it's going to happen.
If you could, would you take a trip to space?
I would personally definitely take a trip to space. I think it also depends where I'm going, but there's so much about space that excites me. There's also a lot to prepare for. But if I definitely had the opportunity to go into space, I would take it 100%.
Do you think you'll get a chance in your lifetime?
I think I will get a chance. Speaking it into existence is the first step. And not only do I think I would get a chance, but I definitely think I'm capable of achieving that goal.
Well, Prith, thank you so much for your time. It's great to get your views to be part of my project.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much, Nathan.